Formal charges were filed against both Kevin Andrew Schuler of Greenville and Austin Scott of New Albany. Both Schuler and Scott are each being charged with 3 separate counts of murder, 1 count of robbery as a Class A felony, 1 count of burglary as a Class A felony, and theft as a Class D felony. In addition to the formal filing of charges this afternoon, an affidavit for arrest warrant was subsequently filed with this court. The probable cause affidavit details that Kevin Schuler and Austin Scott entered the home of Gary Henderson and a Senie Austin off of Walk Drive in Harrison County. Probable cause affidavit further details that Austin Scott, using a knife, repeatedly stabbed to death Mr. Henderson. Likewise, the affidavit states that Kevin Schuler used a large stick with a metal tip on it to kill Mrs. Arnold due to multiple strikes and blunt force trauma. There have been several earlier reports since this occurred stating that the 2 defendants first killed Mr. Henderson, left, and subsequently returned and killed Miss Arnold. That information is incorrect. As the probable cause affidavit states, we believe these men never left the home between the killings. The murder charge does carry with it the potential penalty of death. As the elected prosecutor, I have several responsibilities. One of the single most important decisions that I'm tasked with as prosecutor is choosing whether or not to seek the death penalty for an individual, even more so for an 18-year-old. Capital punishment must be reserved for those individuals whose crimes exhibit truly the worst of human nature. The state of Indiana allows for the death penalty for those depraved individuals who murder victims while committing burglary and robbery. At this point, I will say that seeking the death penalty is being strongly considered. However, I will not make such a decision arbitrarily, and first and foremost, I will meet with the family of the victims before taking any further action with respect to seeking the death penalty. I cannot emphasize enough that our thoughts go out to the family of the victims during this trying time. Where do we go from here? This is obviously still an ongoing investigation. At this point, our focus has now shifted from that of suspect apprehension to gathering evidence and compiling information that furthers the prosecution of this matter. As of right now, both defendants are being housed in the Floyd County Jail. We expect them to be transported to our county for their initial hearings on the murder charges, possibly tomorrow, if not Thursday. They're currently being held without bail. I would like to thank the Harrison County Sheriff's Department, the Floyd County Sheriff's Department, the New Albany Police Department, as well as the Indiana State Police. Their professionalism throughout this investigation has truly been remarkable and some of the best I've ever seen. Likewise, the teamwork showed between the interagencies was equally remarkable. At this time, I'm going to open it up for questions. I may or may not be able to answer some, but I'll do my best.
What was their motive?
The probable cause affidavit does a fairly detailed job of showing that they stated they were going in to steal items. Outside of that, any other motives I think would probably be shown at trial.
Did they know the victims prior to this?
The information we have is that Mr. Schuler had worked on the farm of Mr. Henderson.
Can you explain why each of them faces 3 counts of murder?
Sure. There are different murder statutes that give prosecutors the discretion how to charge. There's the knowingly and intentional murder, and that particular murder charge allows the prosecutor to seek the death penalty on certain circumstances. There's felony murder, which is if 2 people go burglarize a home, and if one person is killed, even though the other person may have not been the one that pulled the trigger or done the stabbing, they're still equally culpable for murder. So there's a few different theories of murder that we are pursuing in this.
So it is correct to say that they're each being charged with 3 counts?
Correct. Each defendant is charged with 3 counts of murder. There's a total of 6 counts of murder between the 2.
Okay, great, thank you.
How do you resolve a theft resulting in 2 heinous murders?
How do we resolve it? I mean, can you be a little more specific with that?
How do you think the theft resulted in murder?
How does the theft result in murder? I'm still not sure I understand the...
You said they went to the home to...
Correct. They went in, they were burglarizing. That's breaking in the home of another with the intent to commit a felony. That particular felony was theft. While inside the home, the probable cause affidavit that details that they killed both individuals that they found inside the home while burglarizing.
Otto, the community wonders, were they high, or did they indicate, were they intoxicated? What would lead them to do such?
Right, I think that's a very fair question. At this point, I'm unaware of any other toxicity levels. I think that'll be information that comes out in days ahead, if not in the trial.
The family of the victims is clearly very upset over this, and they say that they want, the full punishment.
Absolutely.
What are you, you say that you're looking into the death penalty, but what do you want to say to that family and what you're seeking as a prosecutor?
Like I said, there's a lot of different responsibilities you have as a prosecutor. There's no more important responsibility than ultimately asking a jury of peers to decide to take someone's life or not take someone's life. So it's a decision that certainly you never want to make arbitrarily. I've told the family, I will reiterate, they have our full backing. Ultimately, I have the final say in whether or not we pursue the death penalty. However, their input is crucial in our decision-making process. I've invited the family, and I extend any service that our office can provide. They have me 24/7.
And once the teens do get to Harrison County, is it too early to tell when they will make their first initial appearance?
I am hoping that their first initial appearance will be tomorrow. I don't have a time yet, and we are currently looking to see if they've had their initial hearing in Floyd County. Once they have that, for judicial administration purposes, we're hoping to bring them here and let them stay here.
I guess I meant in court with you all getting arraigned on all this stuff.
In terms of what time tomorrow or Thursday, I don't know. I do expect it in the next 48 hours. I think a realistic expectation would be no earlier than tomorrow afternoon. There has to be a transport order to get them from Floyd County to our jail.
What is Henderson and Arnold's relationship?
I believe they were married.
And earlier, I guess they're being kept on suicide watch in Floyd County. What precautions are you guys going to take? Not precautions, but when they get here, this is obviously very high profile.
Right. Obviously, I would. The sheriff's department handles all inmates and the care of inmates in their custody, so I would have to defer that to the sheriff.
Is it correct they entered the home twice this morning?
No, there's been several. There's been a lot of incorrect information being floated around as this investigation has evolved. As the probable cause affidavit states, it's pretty clear at this point that there was at no point did they leave the home and come back. Both killings happened inside the home at the same time, or approximately the same time. There was no delay or an extended period of time.
Have the weapons they used been recovered by authorities?
Yes.
Were the weapons inside the home?
Some were, some weren't. Obviously, I think at this point, the probable cause affidavit, I believe, details that information. Any other evidence, that will come forward at a later time.
How long were they in the home? If people think they left, it sounds like it was a long period.
Obviously, I don't know that, to be honest with you. We don't have a specific time frame of how long we think they were in there. So that information we're not able to provide at this time.
What do they want from the home?
What the affidavit states is that they told the officers they were seeking guns and money and other items. They were charged with theft. And those items that we included in that theft charge included multiple firearms, prescription pills, and money. So, as well as credit cards and debit cards.
Do you know the relationship between the two teens?
I don't. I know they're the similar age. I know they're both 18 or 19. Outside of that, I wouldn't be able to comment as to how those two met. I know obviously they live in different parts of Floyd County, but I couldn't really speak to that.
Can you say, in speaking with the teens, have you seen any remorse?
I think that will come out at trial, and I think that'll be indicative of, what we choose to do as an office going forward. I think would probably exemplify their showing of remorse, if any.
There's obvious bruising on one of their faces. Was there a confrontation with law enforcement, or did that happen between a sibling?
I believe that if there was no confrontation, to my knowledge, with law enforcement, I am aware that he did have some sort of an abrasion or bruise on his eye. I'm referring to Mr. Schuler. I believe that happened well before he was in custody of any law enforcement agency.
You think that happened with the sibling?
I don't want to make any inferences or make speculation as to things I don't know.
Did a sibling or a relative or anyone else tip off authorities when they were pulled over in Floyd County?
My understanding in Floyd County is that New Albany Police responded to a shots fired. And I believe there has been a criminal recklessness charge for at least one of those individuals as a result of that. Ultimately, it was the Floyd County case that led us to these two individuals. Information, especially as this investigation has really evolved, we're starting to get a little clearer set of facts that happened. I'm unaware, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but at this point I'm unaware of any evidence that would lead us to believe that they were there Friday night.
I believe you touched on this earlier, but can you give us a window of when you think they entered the home and left the home?
We believe approximately in that 2 a.m. area in the early hours of Saturday morning.
Were they trying to hide their identity at all, wearing masks or anything? Any indication that they...
At this point, there's been no evidence of any concealment of identification.
Did you discover forced entry into the home?
If the probable cause affidavit doesn't state that, I believe that information will probably come out at trial, if not before then, in the discovery process. At this point, if it's not in the probable cause affidavit, I really don't want to speak as to evidence pertaining to the prosecution of this.
You mentioned trial several times. Is the plea agreement completely off the table?
Before we make any determination, we have to, for obvious reasons, the family has to be included in anything. When you have something as serious as potentially a capital case on the line or death penalty, that certainly hinders the plea negotiation process. But we will not make any decision before we meet in full with the family and decide where to go from there.
Now, you mentioned getting these guys here as early as tomorrow. They have charges to answer in Floyd County.
Correct. We're hoping they are able to have their initial hearing either this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning in Floyd, at which point they will be transported to Henderson County for their initial charges. It would be our desire that they remain in the Henderson County Jail during the pendency of this matter.
Do you want to ask the family if they'd like to speak at all right now, or how do we handle this?
At this point, from the prosecution side of things, I think it's important we respect the privacy of the family. I can't emphasize enough the trying time they're going through. I think we can all certainly be sympathetic, and it's tough to fathom what they're going through. We just ask, if they do want to come forward, they can certainly do that, but I think it would be inappropriate for me to ask them to come forward. That's entirely up to them. I would just ask for the privacy during this. If there's no other questions, thank you all very much for coming out. So sorry it took a little longer than expected to be out here. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Stacking the family.
His son. And it's just bringing it all back. So,
When you heard about the death penalty, how did that make you feel?
we don't want these monsters to ever have an opportunity to do this to anyone else again.
Tell us a little bit about Mr. Henderson, the kind of person he was, how should we remember?
He was a very charismatic guy. He had a smile that was just contagious. Everybody liked him. Anybody you talk to, they're going to tell you, oh, he was a great guy. And they're going to have some type of crazy Uncle Gary story. My favorite one was him and my dad wrestling a bear. At a fair.
Wrestled with bear.
A bear. Yeah. But
So that actually happened? It
it
was
did
like one
really
of those
happen.
stories?
Yeah, it did. They wanted to get in. They got free tickets, so they
Made
did.
it worth it.
It whooped up on them pretty good. But yeah.
And your uncle was just so involved in this area. I mean,
He was.
from Huber's Farm to start. Can you talk to us about just obviously just a loved man in the community? He did so much.
He was a people guy and very charismatic. Everybody liked him. He's been, this is his hometown. This is where he grew up at. He spent many years there. He built life there. He was a great guy.
You guys had a lot of community support reaching out to you.
It's been amazing. The love and the support that's come out. It's been a big help for the family.
How involved will you folks be in these preceding court hearings and trials?
We plan on supporting law enforcement and the prosecutors 100%. We want to ensure that justice is served. And, we're patient to make sure that it's done right. You know, we don't ever want to see these guys do this again.
And you'll be at every hearing, every time they're in court.
Yeah.
How important is that for you all to, in moving forward with trying to get some sense of closure?
It's very important. His daughters had to ordeal with this before, and you know, it's extremely important to them.
Do you have a message for the two suspects?
Yeah, we want to see justice served, and we want it swift.
Did you know that Schuler had worked for your uncle before?
That just kind of come out.
Is there anything else that you would like to add or like people to know?
No, we may be putting together some type of visual here in the near future too. We're working on details. This opportunity for the community to come together. You know, this is a great community. These type of crimes don't happen here, you know, and I'm sure other people are outraged about it as well.